Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the TI University Beginners 101 class. I'm your host, Sean McLaughlin. Chicago Sean, how you doing? In this Beginners 101 class, these are the topics we are going to cover. These are topics of a beginner's nature to get you up and running quickly on the platform. Now, at the conclusion of this broadcast, if you have any further questions, you need additional help, the best place to get help is right here with this email address at the bottom, info@trade-ideas.com. You could send emails there morning, noon, and night, any day of the week. A good chance you'll get a response, usually very quickly during business hours, maybe within a few hours during off hours. If you want to reach us on Twitter, Trade Ideas is the corporate handle. Chicago Sean, that's me. Today Trader is Steve Gomez. QuantBot is Jamie Hodge. We're all very active on Twitter. Feel free to reach out. All right. So now we got that out of the way. Welcome to the platform. Now, when you launch Trade Ideas for the first time, don't worry. When you launch it, it's not going to look like my platform. This is my layout. This is the layout that I use every day as I trade and watch the markets. Now, let's cover some basics here first. Let's make sure we're up and running. If at any time when you launch Trade Ideas, if it doesn't feel like you're getting any live data, you don't think that your servers are running or whatever, it just doesn't look like anything's working. First thing I want you to do is notice in your menu bar here, the TI menu bar at the top, confirm that you have green bars and a green ball. If you have any other color than this, chances are you are not connected or have a poor connection. The first thing I'll want you to do is go to account and hit reset connection. For most people, most of the time, that will solve your problem. But if that still does not get you connected, then that likely means there's an issue with your account. Maybe you need to update your credit card. Maybe your subscription ended and you need to renew your subscription. Whatever the case may be, if you're having trouble getting connected, please come to our website during market hours, trade-ideas.com, and hit our live chat feature. Somebody from tech support should be able to troubleshoot and get you up and running right away. All right, the next thing we're going to cover is time zones. I know everybody is not located in the Eastern U.S. time zone, the New York Stock Exchange time zone, but there's a lot of old school traders out there that love to set the timestamps on their trading platform to the New York Stock Exchange hours. If you would like to do that, all you simply need to do is go to your TI menu bar, go to Tools, choose Options, and on the left you'll see a Time Options button. And the two most commonly used time options are right here at the top. Eastern Time, which is where the New York Stock Exchange is located, or your local time. You certainly have the ability to use any time zone around the world. We have them all here. But I would venture to guess that 99.9% of you are going to use one of these two options right here. So I'm just going to hit save and leave it as my local time. All right, so those are some of the housekeeping things. Oh, the other thing I want to mention too is if you people are like me and you're using just one monitor, you don't have a multiple monitor setup at your desk, you're just using one screen and you got other things running. Maybe you've got your brokerage platform, maybe you've got Twitter running, maybe you've got email up. You got a bunch of things running, not just Trade Ideas. And when you are looking at Trade Ideas, you've got Trade Ideas taking up all of your screen real estate. Well, if you want to quickly minimize all of your Trade Ideas windows without closing it down, all you simply need to do is in your TI menu bar, once again, hit the flatten button, and this will minimize all of your Trade Ideas windows, and then you can easily see whatever you've got running in the background, like I've got this little web browser here. If I want to bring Trade Ideas right back up, I simply hover my mouse over the TI icon in my Windows taskbar and locate the TI menu bar, which will be over here. Just click it, and that will bring all of my windows right back up. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, let's dig into some of the features of the platform. Now, for those of you who don't know, we'll give you a quick history lesson. Trade Ideas has been around since 2003. And in that time, when Trade Ideas first began, all Trade Ideas was a simple alert window and a simple top list. We didn't have all the bells and whistles of the AI and the brokerage plus and charts even and single stock windows. All we had was an alert window and a top list. So let's talk about what alert windows and top lists are. Now you'll notice in my screen here, I've got, this is a top list. You can tell it's got a T. This is an alert window because it's got an A. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to move over to my channel bar and I'm going to change my layout because I want to just drill in on things that make the point pretty easy. So I'm going to go to the social media rippers channel and I'm going to close down my Brokerage Plus window because we will not be covering Brokerage Plus in the Beginners 101 class. All right, so what I just did, and we'll come back to this in a little bit, but this channel bar, these are all pre-configured layouts that launch exactly the same every time you click one of these buttons. And we'll come back to this in a little bit. But for now, I just want you to know I clicked on the Social Media Rippers channel and it launched this layout. Now I like this layout because it has both a top list and an alert window for us to look at. I'm moving things around, which you can do in any one of these layouts, customize them to look visually the way you want them to look. And okay, so now that I got this set up, I want to draw your attention to these two windows down here, my top list and my alert window. We're going to start with a top list first. What is a top list? What are all these stocks here? Well, essentially a top list is a dynamically updating window that updates every 30 seconds. It scans the entire marketplace of stocks and delivers to you in this window all stocks that satisfy your filter requirements at this moment in time. Now, what are filter requirements? Well, let me give you some examples of what a filter might be. A filter could be price. You might only be interested in seeing stocks that trade between $5 a share and $50 a share. Another filter might be volume. You're only interested in seeing stocks that trade on average 500,000 shares each trading day. Another example of a filter might be a moving average. You might only be interested in seeing stocks trading above a certain moving average. These are filters, and we have hundreds of filters for you to choose from within Trade Ideas. And each filter that you add, and the stricter the parameters you make for each filter, the tighter your list becomes, the fewer names will appear. And that's a very, very good thing. Look, there's nearly 8,000 tradable securities in the US and Canada. Those are the markets that we track. You can't possibly keep up to date on all of those stocks. It's just physically, humanly impossible. With Trade Ideas, with the aid of machines and server technology, you can winnow down that list of 8,000 stocks down to just 20 or 30 or 10, whatever the comfortable number is for you. Just the stocks that satisfy your filters that are really in your wheelhouse of the stocks that you like to trade. So now that I've kind of given you that setup, let's take a look at the filters we have set up in this top list. Now to do that, I just right click anywhere in this window and choose Configure, and that launches the top list configure window. There's a number of tabs here across the top. If I just skip along to the summary tab, this will show us what we've got set up in this window. In this window, currently, we have 4 filters set up. There's nothing magical about any one of these individual filters, but working in concert, all of these filters deliver to us what we're looking for in this particular top list. The important thing about filters is every one of these filters needs to be satisfied for a stock to appear in your top list. Okay? It can't just be 1 or 2 of the filters. Every filter has to be satisfied. All right. That's kind of the nuts and bolts of a top list. Let's move on now to an alert window. This is an alert window right here. It's got a little letter A in the upper left. Now, what is an alert window? Well, an alert window essentially takes a top list, takes the functionality of a top list, and adds one extra very significant step. And that step is there has to be an event that takes place. There has to be a trigger, and there's a timestamp associated with that. So you'll notice in this window, the farthest left column here, we have timestamps here. At this time, at exactly this time, is when this event took place. Now, let's go under the hood here and talk about the events. I'm going to right-click and go to Configure. I'm going to bring up the Alert Configure window once again. I'm going to go again to the Summary tab, and you'll notice while we have 5 filters in this window, we also have 2 alerts. We have 2 alerts set. One is called Running Up Now, and the other is called a Stock to Its Activity Spike. Not important what these alerts do right now, but the important thing to know is that if either one of these alerts trigger, and at that exact moment in time, the stock that triggers also satisfies all of these filters, then you will see that alert appear in your alert window. if one of these triggers does hit, but there's a filter in here that is not satisfied, well, then you will not see the alert because technically that stock does not meet your parameters. You're only interested in getting alerted on stocks that meet your parameters. That's the power of the alert window. Now, let's go through and build an alert window from scratch. We'll just build a real basic one here. Let me pull up the S&P 500 chart and observe what kind of market we're looking at today. Looks like if I zoom out, these shaded areas are yesterday's after hour session, and the peach is today's pre-market session. So looks like we had a strong day yesterday, went higher in the aftermarket, gapped higher in the pre-market, and we're continuing higher today. So that tells me if I'm an intraday trader, I probably want to be looking for trade candidates on the long side. So why don't we build an alert window that's going to help me identify stocks breaking out to new intraday highs. So I'm going to close this alert window here because we're going to build a new one from scratch. And the way we launch any new window in Trade Ideas is in your TI menu bar at the top, simply go to New, Alert Window. This is where you can launch any window, but I'm going to hit Alert Window, and that's going to bring up my Alert Config window. Now you'll notice on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of folders. There's a bunch of pre-configured alerts you're welcome to use. If I click any of these, it'll load them up in here. You'll get a little description of what's going on. If you want to use this, you can. You just go ahead and hit Load Settings, and that will load everything up, and you could use it out of the box as it is, or you can make any of your custom tweaks that you feel necessary. But for our purposes, we are going to build a alert completely from scratch. And to do that, you go to the top where it says Start from Scratch. Just double click on that. You'll get the little orange arrow. That tells you you are starting from scratch. Now I'm going to move over one tab to the Search tab. Here in the Search tab is where all the magic happens. Now, if you notice, I scroll through here, you will see all the alerts and filters that we have. There are hundreds and hundreds of them. We certainly do not expect you to scroll through here hunting and pecking for specific filters and alerts you want to use. That would be time consuming and tedious. What we'd rather you do is just use this search terms box and type in some keywords. So we mentioned we were going to build an alert window that's looking for stocks breaking out to new intraday highs. So I'm going to search for the new high alert. I'm just going to type in new high. I'll see a number of new high related alerts here. I'm just going to choose this one right here at the top. I click on it, and then I hit Add Alert. And that's going to bring us over to the Select Alerts tab. And you'll see the new high alert is highlighted. I go ahead and place a check in that box to activate that alert. I don't know about you, but I just like to clean my screen out of things I'm not using. So I could hit this Hide Unused button right here to remove all those other alerts that I'm not using. And now you see I've got a new high alert selected. Now the box to the right, this is the qualifier box. This is where you describe the type of new high you're looking for. Notice it says days next to it. Now if I put a number in here, say 50, then I'm going to get alerted whenever a stock makes a new 50-day high. If I put 20, it'll be a 20-day high. If I leave it blank, then it's going to alert me to a stock making a new intraday high, and that's what I wanted. All right, great. Now, here's the thing. I could stop here and just have an alert window alerting me to any stock making a new high. But there's 8,000 stocks in the universe, and if the market is generally going higher throughout the day, I'm going to be getting alerted on hundreds and hundreds of stocks making new intraday highs throughout the day. It's going to quickly become an overwhelming alert window. I won't be able to keep up. I need to add some filters in place because I only want to get alerted on stocks that I actually have an interest in trading. So let's go back to the search tab again, because again, this is where all the magic happens. And let's start looking for some filters. I'm going to type in price. Price is a basic one I always use. We have a number of filters related to price. I'm just going to choose the basic price one right here. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to hit Add Filter. And that brings me over the Windows Specific Filters tab once again. And I've got price highlighted. And here I'm going to set a minimum price, let's say $10 a share on the low end. And let's say $200 on the high end. I'm not interested in trading any stocks higher than $200 a share or less than $10 a share. I'm going to once again hide unused to clean up my screen because I only want to see the filters that I'm using. All right, now to add more filters, we just simply go back to the search tab. I'm going to type in volume. I want to use a volume filter. We have a number of volume alerts and filters. I'm going to scroll down to find the one I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for right here. Average daily volume. 3M stands for 3 months. I'm going to highlight that filter. I'm going to add filter. That brings me over to the window specific filters tab. And here in the minimum box, I'm going to put 500,000 shares. I want on average a typical trading day for this stock to trade at least 500,000 shares. That's, to me, that means there's liquidity there. That means there's active participants. I'm not interested in trading a stock that doesn't have a whole lot of volume because I don't want to get stuck in a position. But hey, you could decide a different number. There's no magic number here, but I'm going to just put 500,000 to start. Now I'm going to go back to the search tab because I want to find some more filters. Now I'm going to stay here with volume that I've got typed here because there's another volume related filter that I like to use, and it's right here, relative volume. Now you might be looking at relative volume and saying to yourself, what does relative volume do? I don't understand what that filter is or what it tells me. Well, anytime you're in this window or in the alert config window and you're looking at filters or alerts and you're not sure what they do, the best thing to do is highlight it like I've done here and then click this help button. When you click this help button, this will launch a web browser that goes right to our definitions page. And once it fully loads, it will load up right to the spot where your term that you're searching about is showing. And there it is, relative volume. And you can see a very robust definition of what this filter is doing, what the inputs are, what the outputs are, what you can expect, how you can use it, etc. So use this help button here in your alert config windows. This is a very powerful feature to make sure you're using filters, the right filters, and using them the right way. All right, so I'm going to add this relative volume. I'm going to hit add filter. It's going to bring me back to the window specific filters tab. And I'll give you the quick elevator pitch of what relative volume does. Relative volume is a ratio score. So if I put 3.0 in the minimum, that tells me that right now a stock is on pace, on track to trade at least 3 times its average daily volume. Trade Ideas servers know on a minute by minute basis the average volume of every stock in the universe, or every stock in North America at least. So we know, I mean, look, you might want a stock to average 1 million shares a day. But if you're 2 hours into the trading day, the stock's only traded, let's say, 600,000 shares, do we know if that stock is on pace to meet or exceed its average daily volume? Well, in a fast-moving market, I don't have the time to sit down and do the calculations to figure out if the volume is on track. The relative volume score helps it do that for me very quickly. So for me, if I put a minimum of 3.0, this is only going to show me stocks that currently are trading a minimum of 3 times their average daily volume or on pace to trade 3 times their average daily volume. Now I'm going to add one more filter and we'll move on. I think you get the point, but I'm going to type in moving average. Now, we mentioned that we're looking to buy stocks breaking out to new intraday highs. I don't know about you, but I like to buy strength. I like to buy stocks that are already exhibiting some trend. So for me, maybe what I want to do is I want to find stocks that are at least trading above a certain moving average. So I typed in moving average in the search terms box, and we have a number of moving average related filters. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit, but let's say, let's go to the change from 8-day simple moving average. That's what SMA stands for, simple moving average, the percent. So if I add this filter, this change from 8-day simple moving average, and I move, and that brings me over to the window specific filters tab once again. And if I put a minimum value here of 0.01%, I know it's percent because it says percent here on the right. If I set a minimum of 0.01%, that means that the stock has to be currently trading at least a smidge above its 8-day simple moving average. That to me gives me a little bit of confidence knowing that this stock has a little bit of trend or momentum behind it. And therefore, these are the types of stocks I like to trade. Now I can continue adding additional filters and tightening my parameters more and more. And the more I do that, the fewer alerts I'm likely to get. And that's, again, a good thing, right? For me, an alert window that only alerts me 10 times a day is much more valuable than an alert window that alerts me 1,000 times a day, because I can't possibly trade 1,000 names. I'm human, okay? I can't do it all. But if I had an alert window that only sends me 10 alerts a day, that's much more actionable. I could wrap my head around that. Now I'll quickly go over these last few tabs here and we'll move on and launch this alert window. The exchanges tab always defaults to the New York and NASDAQ and American stock exchanges. This is where it's going to scan for stocks. You can certainly add pink sheets and bulletin board stocks and Canadian stocks if you wish, just by selecting, putting little checks on the boxes. That's good. Symbolist tab, I'm not going to cover it here. It gets covered in the 201 class, but you can create your own symbol list and have your top list or alert windows only scan against that list. Perhaps you're a hedge fund manager or a portfolio manager of some kind, or you've got a research team working for you, and they've given you a list of, I don't know, let's say 100 approved names that you can trade. Well, you could go ahead and upload that list in the trade ideas and then have your alert window or top list only point to that list and only scan and find alerts against that list. You'll do that here on this tab. Columns. This is where we set how this window will look once it launches. Right now on the left-hand side, these are the columns we currently have set to display. If I want to add any others, I could find them over here and left arrow them over. I'll scroll down and these are the filters that I added. So I'm going to highlight those and hit the left arrow and bring them over. Now there they are. So now all of these columns here will now be viewable when I launch my window. And the last thing is I'll hit the summary tab. This is where we review our work. And sure enough, we have an alert set for a new high. And these are the filters that must be satisfied for us to see a new high alert for any individual stock. Let's give this a name. We'll call this Beginners 101 New High Alerts. We call it anything we want, but that's what I will call it. There it is. And everything looks good. Now I just go ahead and hit OK. And that will launch my alert window. And here it is. Beginners 101 New High Alerts. Now, right now, this is a real-time window, I should point out. We're only going to see alerts as they happen in real time. Now, it's showing the most recent one right here. If I click on it, sure enough, this is a 5-minute chart. The blue arrow is pointing to where you got the alert. And look at that. That is indeed a new intraday high for that stock. Now, if you don't want to sit around and wait for new alerts that come in to make sure you've done the right work, you could check the history tab to see all the alerts that would have fired in this alert window today. So if I right click and go to history and choose, right now we're on real time, but if I change that to today, you will see all the alerts that would have come through this window. If I scroll down, we go way back, lots and lots of alerts. So if I click on one of these, let's say BHF, you will see on the 5-minute chart where that blue arrow is pointing, sure enough, at that time, that was a new intraday high. It's since rolled over, but that is a fact. And this candle at that point, it did print a new intraday high. Let's go back even further. GNRC. Yep, where this blue arrow is pointing to this candle. Let's zoom in a little bit. At that time, that was an intraday high. You probably got even more alerts coming up over here as well. So it looks like this alert window is working as planned. Wonderful. Let's go back to real time. Let's make it live. And as new alerts fire, they will appear in here. Now, one little housekeeping thing on this alert window, you might notice that in the column headers, we have some icons instead of words. Notice this top list, there's all words in these column headers. If you prefer the words like I do, you could toggle this into just show words only. All you do is right click, go to properties and choose text headers. And then there you go. Okay, top list and alert windows, looking good. Next thing we're going to cover is layouts and channels. Let's start with the channel bar first. So on the channel bar, I mentioned earlier we'd talk about the channel bar. The channel bar here, all this really is just a number of pre-configured layouts that launch the same for every user. They launch the same every time, and they just offer quick glimpses, quick windows into different corners of stock market activity. So maybe you're somebody who watches CNBC during the trading day, and some talking head came on and mentioned that there's a lot of activity in the banking sector today, lots of M&A action or something. Well, we have a banks channel right here. If I click on this banks channel, it's going to load up a new layout, and it's going to quickly dial into whatever's moving in the banking sector. So that's one way that these channels can be useful to you, is that they're great places to just quickly load up information to quickly drill into a certain area or a certain sector. What they're also great for is they're great for people who are new to trade ideas. Maybe they're even new to trading altogether. And when they're here, you don't know exactly what you need. I'm making up a number here, but I would argue that 90% of Trade Ideas users ultimately build and create their own layouts that just have all the windows that they use throughout the day on a typical trading day. These channels are nice and they're great to have as quick reference, but ultimately you're going to have your own layout that you use throughout the day. But if you're new to Trade Ideas and you don't know what functionality is here, you don't know what windows are useful, or if you're new to trading and you don't even know what you need, these channels can be a great start to help you in building out the layout that you need. So right here, right now we're on a banks channel. Let's say you've been spending some time on the banks channel and you've been noticing that this multi-strategy window, which by the way, sidebar, multi-strategy window, all that simply means is it's a window that saves real estate. It's multiple alert windows all just compressed into the same multi-strategy window. So remember we built an alert window just a few minutes ago. Imagine a multi-strategy window. There's multiple alert windows all working simultaneously within this one window. Anyway, let's say you've been watching this window and you find this very useful. The trades that come through here are trades that you like to trade, that you want to act upon, and you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You just want to have this, you want to just copy this thing as it is and bring it over to your own custom layout. Well, the way you do that is in this window, you simply right click, go to Save or Share to Cloud, which another sidebar, every Trade Ideas customer has access to a free cloud account, an unlimited cloud account. You could save all kinds of windows and layouts to your heart's content in your cloud. You will never lose them. So if I want to save this particular window to my cloud, once again, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go Save or Share to Cloud. I'll just leave this name here, Regional and Community Banks Multi-Strategy Stream. I'm going to hit Save. And now I've saved this window to my cloud. And we'll come back to that because what we're going to do now is we're going to build our own layout. So remember, we're on a channel right now, okay? Now I'm here, I can move things around. I could, make things that work better for my eyes. Maybe I want a third chart. I could go up to my TI menu bar, open up new, hit chart window and add a third chart on a different time frame. I could do all that. And here's the thing that frustrates people about channels sometimes is that if I made all these changes to this banks channel, and then I moved over to, let's say, I don't know, the earnings channel, right? And then I go back to my banks channel. Like I'm here on earnings. I've seen everything I need to see. Okay, great. Now I'm going to go back to my banks channel. You'll notice the banks channel went back to its original setting. That's not good. Where are all the things that I did? Where are all my changes? I lost my changes. If you make any changes, you need to save them as your own custom layout. So let's move things around again. Let's put this up here. Let's put this over here. We'll stretch out this chart. Okay, now if this is the way I want my banks channel to look, I need to save this as one of my own custom layouts. And the way I do that is in my TI menu bar. Up here, I go to File, Save Layout. I'm going to have to give it a name. We'll call this 101 layout. You can call it anything you want, but we'll call it 101 layout. I'm going to hit save. And now every time I want to bring up this particular layout, I can access it by going to my TI menu bar, go to File, hit Load Layout, and find it. There it is. There's 101. I've got a number of layouts in here you could see, but I'm going to choose that one and hit Open, and that will launch the layout exactly as I saved it. So let's go, let's click over to another channel here real quick, just to finish my thought on bringing over windows that you save. So remember when we were on the bank channel, we liked that multi-strategy window and I wanted to bring that over to one of my custom layouts. So the way I do that, let's say that we're on a custom layout here. This is one of my layouts that I like, and I want to bring over that multi-strategy window. To upload it from my cloud, all I simply need to do is I could access my cloud in one of two ways. In my channel bar, I can go to the My Cloud button right here, or in my menu bar, I could go to File, Load from Cloud. They take me to the same place. They take me right here. And sure enough, here's the Regional Community Banks Multi-Strategy Stream that we saved to the clouds right there at the top. But before I launch that, you'll notice if I scroll through here, I've got lots and lots and lots of alert windows, layouts, MultiStrategy windows, etc., that I've saved over the years, all accessible in here. This is going back many, many years. They're all here. I never lost them. But the one I most recently saved will be right here at the top, regional community banks. I just highlight it, I hit load, and check that out. That window just launched right here on my layout. I can stretch it out, make it look the way I want it to look. Okay, now I've just imported this M window from a different channel. I've imported it here to my custom layout. Now, one final step, it's very important. If I want to make sure this always launches, every time I come back to this layout, I got to make sure I save this layout with my changes. You got to save your work. So to do that, again, go to File, Save Layout. I'll call it my 101 layout again. It's going to ask me, do I want to replace it? Because I already have one that exists like that. I'll hit yes. And now I can access this layout at any time. So maybe I'm scrolling through the channels and I'm over on the Trade the Gap channel. I'm doing some stuff over here. I found what I'm looking for. I'm ready to go back to my default or my custom layout. The way I do that, I just simply go back up to my TI menu bar, File, Load Layout, find the layout that I want, in this case, the 101 layout. And there we go. It's going to launch with the saved window that we added just a few moments ago. So ladies and gentlemen, that is a brief overview of custom layouts, brief overview of channels. I hope that was clear. All right, next thing we're going to move on to is charts. You'll notice in this layout here, I've got two charts. I've got on the left-hand side, I got a daily chart. And on the right-hand side, I got a 5-minute chart. How do I know they're a daily or 5-minute chart? Well, I know a couple of ways. There's a watermark in the background. You see the ticker, comma D. D stands for daily. Over here, you see VSLR, comma 5. That's a 5-minute chart. It also shows up here in the header. See the little parentheses 5, parentheses D. That's how you know what type of time frame you're looking at. If I want to add any additional charts, I can do so simply by going to my TI menu bar, hit New, launch Chart Window, and there we go. I can launch an additional chart window. If I want to change the time frame in this window, I just simply right-click, go to Time Frame, and choose, let's go with a weekly chart. And if I want to, the chart looks a little scrunched. If I want to zoom in or zoom out, I just simply hold the Control key on my keyboard and then use the left or right arrows on my keyboard. I'm spinning back and forth. I'm using my mouse wheel right now, but you could also use your keyboard, your arrows on your keyboard. So that's how you zoom in and zoom out of chart. I'm holding the Control key while I'm zooming in and zooming out. What are some important things to notice on the charts? Well, you can add indicators to charts. Now we have a very limited feature set of indicators. We are not a charting platform. We're not going to win any awards for chart indicators. That's not what we're in the business to do. But we do have a handful of commonly requested indicators for charts. And to access any of these indicators, simply right-click on the chart, go down to Indicators, and you can find the available indicators that you can add right here. Okay, so if I want to add an SMA, let's go ahead and add an SMA, hit OK. And now I've got this blue line here is my simple moving average. Additionally, you might notice that, let's go to this 5-minute chart here. We talked a little bit earlier about these vertical colored areas. This is the purple is the pre or after hours session of the previous day. This peach is the pre-market session today. Some people don't like to see the intraday or you know, the outside of regular hours trading data. You can toggle that off in your charts, no problem. Just simply right click, go to properties, and see where it says show pre-market, show post-market, and there's a check next to each box. If I go through and manually select each one, I got to do it twice. Properties. I've deselected them, and now you can see I'm only seeing regular trading session hours. Another thing you might notice on charts is on a daily chart, you might see what's called a swing exit. You see this dotted red line. You got a swing exit in the margins. What is the swing exit? Well, for people who are swing traders, and a swing trader is commonly referred to as someone who holds a stock for more than one day. They hold it overnight. They're not going to be in and out in the same day. Swing traders typically observe the 20-day low as a signal to perhaps exit their position. There's no magic in the 20-day low. It's just the level that a lot of swing traders observe. So we basically highlight that level for you on charts, the swing exit is pointing out to you the 20-day low. If you're holding this stock long and this thing were to reverse and break this 20-day low, chances are that trade's going to have a tough time going forward, and you may want to consider pulling the plug on your trade. Now, the other thing I'll point out on charts is the ability to do annotations. Okay, so if you're somebody like me who's active on social media and you like to share charts with your followers, you can do so, and you can make annotations to your chart. So look, I've just added a horizontal line which I could use to point out support and resistance. The way I did that is we got the little annotations right here in the chart. If I just click on that horizontal line right there, that will launch a new horizontal line. I can drag these anywhere I want. If I want to change the color, I just right click in here, go to properties, or sorry, markup, go to annotation color, and choose a different color. Say green. Okay, now I got a green line up there. Great. If I want to add a trend line, I just hit this sloping line here. Hit the trend line, click it once, and then click it again in my chart and drag. Now I've got my line. I could manipulate this any way I want, move this where I want it to be, change the slope of it. I could also change the color, just right click in it, go to properties, markup, annotation color. We'll make this line black. And you could also add text annotations. If I click the T in my chart and then click in the chart somewhere, wherever I want, then just start typing, watch this level, for example. I could just put that in there. Oops, I seem to have lost my thing. Here we go. Watch this level. And then now I've got this little box here. I can move this anywhere I want, drag it where I want. Great. Maybe I'll just add a little trend line here to show people what I'm talking about. Watch this level right here. Okay, let's stretch that out. All right, so I could add these annotations, and then I could screenshot these little windows, and I could share them on social media and get feedback or whatever I want to do. And if you want to remove any annotations you've got on charts, just simply click on them, hit your delete button, click delete. All right, I think I've covered everything I need to cover in charts. Oh, one last thing. Let's talk about idea surfing. Now, I'm going to turn on idea surfing right now. And what's going to happen is you'll notice, so we're looking at ticker REAL right now. I'm going to move my mouse over here. I'm going to leave it in the middle of my screen. I'm not going to touch it, but you'll notice my tickers are going to change in a moment. Right now we're looking at REAL, and in a moment or two, it's going to switch to something else. And there it goes, ticker GOGO. I didn't do anything. What happened? Well, what happened here is a concept called idea surfing, and there's just switched again. What idea surfing does is it cycles through all open top lists. So we got two top lists right here. I got one here. I got one here. It's going to cycle through the top 3 names of every open top list, just refreshing your charts and keeping you up to date. And this is useful because maybe you're somebody who works in an office and Nancy from accounting just came over and she's chatting you up about her weekend, or maybe your phone rang, or maybe you're sending an email, or I don't know, the dog needs to be taken for a walk. Whatever the case may be, you're distracted and you're not fully engaged with the platform. Well, when you have idea surfing on, theoretically, these are stocks the stocks that it's surfing through theoretically are stocks you want to pay attention to because they are at the top of your top list. These are stocks that meet your parameters. These are stocks you want to trade. So it's going to cycle through these charts, and hey, maybe while you're distracted and doing something else, idea surfing might switch to a new chart and you'll say, oh wow, look, GoGo just started breaking out. I gotta trade this. Time to do some, time to put some trades on. That's the whole point around the idea surfing, help you not miss trades. Because the last thing you want to do is be stuck on some stock. Let's say you're on ticker MSFT, Microsoft, and it's just not doing anything. It's just sitting here, it's going sideways. Meanwhile, your other stocks in your top list are breaking out. Like this GoGo right here. If I go back to my top list, this thing's breaking out right now as we're talking. I probably want to get in a trade in this thing right now. That's the thought process behind idea surfing. Well, folks, that brings us to the conclusion of the Beginners 101 class. We covered all of these topics here. Feel free to go back and review. If at any time you have any additional questions, please go here, come to this email address here, info@trade-ideas.com. That's the best place to get your questions answered and get them sent to the right person, best qualified to answer your question. And if you want to engage with us on Twitter, please feel free. Trade Ideas, Chicago Sean, Tasty Trader, QuantBot. We're all happy to engage with you on Twitter, so don't be shy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Beginners 101 training class with Chicago Sean McLaughlin. Thanks for being here. Take care.